Hello, this is Hunter McDermott with another Anyone Can Play Guitar video. This is Guitar Blog, episode 42. It is September 21st, 2022. So I guess first of all, kind of on the heels of the last video I did, just to show off this guitar. So I had that Eastman, which I didn't dislike, but I did a little bit. I don't know why. I think it was just a little too big. I think it was 17 inches this way, and I don't know. I think I said in the one video that I liked that it was like sunburst and then red, but I actually didn't. I didn't really want the red at all. So it was kind of cool that that was unique. Hadn't seen another one like it, but I didn't actually like it that much. Anyway, you guys, anybody who's watched all of these knows that I'm quite fickle when it comes to my instruments. But anyway, this is kind of another case of the Ibanez AF200. I got that that Jazzmaster, and I had the D'Angelico before that, and I had another D'Angelico archtop and some other things. I had the 335 for a little while, but it was kind of like, what drew me to that style of guitar was watching and listening to John Scofield, who had the Ibanez AF200 from the 80s, I think. This might be from the 80s. So it was kind of like, oh, that's the guitar I want. Let me buy everything else besides that year after year. So buying something, going, this isn't quite what I want, and then selling it and buying something else. And then eventually going, you know, I should just buy the thing that like I really want. And I still have it years later because I still love it. It's still a very good guitar, and it's what I wanted, right? So this is the Ibanez AF200. So it's the same, came out the same year, I believe, as my Ibanez, or maybe a year later. But it's the same idea. It's the same series, except this is the full hollow version. And I really like this year specifically because it's got this kind of minimal trapeze style tailpiece, which just, you know, it just shows off more of the sunbursts, which I like. It's a darker sunburst than the AS, which has more of a yellowy kind of feel. This is a little bit more natural, kind of a darker brown, orange, whatever. Looks really neat on the back. It's got this three-piece neck that they used. Not even sure if it's different pieces of wood. Different pieces of wood. I'm not sure if it's different types of wood or if it's just finished differently, but it's pretty cool. It goes all the way up to the headstock. Looks nice. Sounds nice. And I showed off the pick guard that I fixed, sorta. So that's looking pretty good. Doesn't look any worse for the wear. Yeah, so I'm happy with this guitar. It's a little bit thinner body, and I think it's a little bit smaller. It's 16 or 16 and a half, which doesn't seem like it would be that big of a difference, but it really does. And so far I really like it, and so we'll see if I keep it, but I'm happy so far, as I usually say. So the big thing that's been on my mind with regard to playing is I'm really focusing on my picking. So I listen to a lot of Pat Martino, George Benson, Dan Wilson, and a guy named Cecil Alexander, kind of specifically. And what I really like about their playing is that they do a lot of double time stuff. So they'll be just, you know, playing some lines and then suddenly go into this kind of super sped up part. And I think, you know, you can do that too much. I feel like Pat Martino probably does that a little bit too much. That's like all he does. And Cecil Alexander is kind of the same way. He plays double time stuff a lot, and it's good, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, I prefer to look at the double time stuff as like a bit of flair. I wouldn't want it to be the main thing that I do all the time, but being able to throw that in there for effect, I think is really, really cool. Like, I don't consider Julian Lage to be like a bebop player, but certainly he can, and he certainly has in certain spots on certain tunes, on certain records, just kind of at random. He'll throw in a crazy double time lick that's super chromatic and great. So I like that kind of thing, and I wanted to learn it. And I've done some stuff with, I've talked about like the Kenyon Carter book, or like video series or whatever, Bebop Boot Camp, where he talks about stuff like so like taking a bebop scale and working on octave displacement and arpeggios, and being able to just kind of link all that stuff together and be able to see the chord tones and rhythmically start in the right place so that those chord tones land on the strong beats, which is the quintessential bebop sound. So I'm glad I went through that stuff, because I've got a lot of those moves under my fingers. But Cecil Alexander, I found out he has a course on a site called Pick Up Music, and it's he's got several courses, I think, and this one is called Advanced Jazz Improvisation, I think, and it's like exactly what I was looking for. So in the very first like section, he the way he set it up is like, here are some etudes, some studies that show off the type of playing that you're going to then learn how to do. And it's hard. It's super hard. So I've been doing this for, I don't know, a month and a half, I would say, 6 weeks maybe, working on the first etude. I haven't even gotten to the second one. Now I've jumped ahead a little bit to sections 2 and 3, where he starts to talk a little bit more about kind of the techniques and things that go into what produces that etude, right? But I like the idea of presenting the thing, like, learn this tune, just learn it, and then we'll break it down later. And I think that's how it makes sense to do it, you know, outside of a course. Like, you hear a song and you go, that's cool, let me learn that. And then once I've learned it, I will be able to break it down and kind of understand it, and then take those bits and pieces that I like and put them into my own playing. But so yeah, the big thing is the double time licks, and I love the sound of that, and I love that he's teaching that, and so I'm happy with that. It's just extremely difficult because I don't play fast very often, so it's a whole new thing. I have to start thinking about like economy of motion and like pick angle and things like that. So just like Dan Wilson, Benson, and Jocelyn Gould, they play with their pick like this. So rather than kind of like the normal way of holding the pick, they sort of hold it more with like this kind of grip instead of this kind of grip, and that allows them to angle it up from behind, so they're kind of like attacking it from this angle. They're at an extreme angle like that, and I sort of tried that for a little while, and I think I could probably do that, but Cecil talks about how it doesn't really matter if you're angling it this way or this way. So I figure rather than trying to reinvent my entire picking technique, I should try to build on what I already do. So all that really means for that is to hold the pick a little bit more light and to angle it just a little bit more. I'm not doing an extreme angle, and I angle it anyway, but just kind of thinking about that a little bit, it's harder to play quickly if you have a flat pick angle. And it also kind of gives you a little bit warmer tone, in my opinion. And Cecil talks about a guy named Troy Grady, who has a whole bunch of videos on YouTube that are like insanely scientific and wonderful, where he breaks down. He has like a special rig where he can film people's hands, and he's interviewed a whole bunch of different guitarists across a different a range of styles, where he can show you like cross picking, which comes from more of a bluegrass thing, or the sweep picking, which comes from more of like a metal thing, and all this kind of stuff, all these different techniques. But the biggest thing, and I've looked into a guy named Stefan Rembel as well, who's like more of a Django gypsy style guitar player. The big thing that they all share, all the people who can play fast, is something called rest stroke, which I'm familiar with from classical guitar. So you play a string, and then your finger bumps into the string that's higher than it, in this case. A lower pitched string, but is physically higher up. As opposed to playing free stroke, where you're just plucking and pulling your finger away. You're going down into that next string. So now with the pick, it's the same idea, just opposite direction. So if I play a note, then I bump my pick into the string below, as opposed to pulling it away. Not that I would ever pull it away that far, but I might float above it. But this allows me to... the idea is that because you're bumping into the string, you're limiting any excess movement. You're getting the note that you want, and you're not moving too much more than the width of a string, you know, the space between two strings. That kind of thing. And then also, something I hadn't really ever done is thinking about my pick direction as I move from string to string. So like in this phrase, I would go down, up, and then I've got this series of notes on adjacent strings. Down, down, down. Let's see. All right, so two down strokes in a row, and that's just thinking about how can I take the motion that I'm already making. I'm already pushing down, going downward, and I'm going to a higher string, a string that is physically lower down. So it makes sense to just kind of keep going in that direction, and then work your way back up when you absolutely have to. So I'm kind of working with that stuff and trying to get through this etude, and I'm making progress. I think the final tempo is 1:16, and I'm able to play it decently at about 90, and on a good day 95. Certain parts of it I can play up to about 100, but there's this one part that's just like killing me. And I remember when I was learning, what's his name? 335 guy. Oh my gosh, he's so famous, I can't remember his name. Larry Carlton. When I was learning Larry Carlton's song Room 335, which my old guitar teacher was having me learn, there was just like a certain part, and I don't remember any of it now, but there was a certain part that was just too fast. Like I just couldn't make it happen. Like I had run into a wall. And so that's what a lot of the stuff that Cecil and Troy and other people who talk about picking talk about is like, if you're hitting this wall where you just can't seem to go any faster, then here are some things to keep in mind. And of course it's like what I imagine like weightlifters go through. It's like you hit a certain wall, there's only so much weight I can lift, so let's see if we can increase that by like a few ounces or whatever, you know, like the gains become much smaller the more, you know, the higher up you get, whatever you're doing, speed or weight or whatever. So in this case it's like, you know, going from 60 BPM to 80 is no problem, but like 80 to 90 is a little bit harder, 90 to 95 is hard, and then getting up to even 100 is super hard, and then, you know, past that it just gets harder and harder because you're trying to optimize, and it's very challenging. So that's been good though. Like I'm getting closer to what I want to be able to do. And so another thing that he talks about that I thought was really, really useful is talks about descending bebop scales. So like taking a G7 scale, which I already know, but trying to think about playing it from chord tones. So playing it from the root, this flat 7, the 5th, then the third, and then you're back to the root, and then playing it from non-chord tones, but notes that are in the same scale, so like A. There was, like, Barry Harris has all these rules for where you should insert half steps, and I just find it confusing, or not confusing, but it's like not ergonomic or not intuitive, for me anyway. It's like thinking, oh, between the 5th and the 6th, I need to add a half step, but if I start on this beat, then I need to add 3 half steps, and they need to be here, here, and here, and that just is too hard for me to wrap my head around. It doesn't seem to build off of what I already know in an intuitive way. So I really like the way that Cecil talks about it, because he says, okay, you got the bebop scale from the root. What if you start on A? Well, walk your way down to the root and then just play the scale from the root. So you just put a half step between the A and the G, and now you're on the root, and you already know that part. So just keep going. So from the E, another non-chord tone but a scale tone, you're a whole step above D, so connect it the same way. Now you're on the 5th, and you know it from the 5th. And then from the C, this one's interesting because if you go a half step down, you're on the chord tone. That's the B, that's the 3rd. So to add another half step in there in order to keep everything on the strong beats, you just do like an enclosure. And you don't have to even do that note specifically. You can do, whatever you want. But that's the one he uses in the example. So, and now you're on the 3rd, and you just run the scale from there. So then that's most of the notes, and then you think about, okay, now what about notes that aren't in the scale at all? So like B flat, you do the similar kind of thing from the C. So you do a half step to get to the A, and now you're on A, and then now you know the rule from A, which is walk down to the root, and then you play the scale from the root. So from A flat, same deal. Just enclose the G and then run from G. From B, this is in the bebop scale, but it's not part of the G7 tonality. So this, you go basically enclosing the flat 7, and now you're on a chord tone. Let's see, and then we have the F. No, that's the flat 7. Then we have the E, and then we have E flat or D sharp. Just enclose the D. And then this one is really neat, where you start from the D flat or C sharp. If you do the half step move, like enclosing the next lowest note, you end up on C. But we already know what to do on C. We do the same move. So then you get this kind of stair-stepping thing. And then from the 3rd, you just run the scale. That kind of thing. And so now you can play the descending bebop scale from any note. And again, it's like building on what I was already comfortable with, which was playing from chord tones. I'm seeing where the chord tones are, and then practicing playing from those chord tones, from the non-chord tones, and then from the rest of the non-scale tones. And then that's everything. So whenever you're improvising, wherever you happen to land, you can work your way back to that bebop scale, which I think is just brilliant. Like with everything, maybe I understand this better because I went through some of the Barry Harris stuff. Maybe not, I don't know. But like I always kind of say, it's important to get information, maybe the same information presented to you in as many different ways as it takes in order to find that one that really clicks with you. Like one of the most common sentiments for like my early music theory videos is like, people saying I looked all over and I didn't understand it until I watched your video. And like you could say there's a good amount that they probably picked up sort of subconsciously from having been exposed to a bunch of other stuff. But there was something about them and me specifically making that connection where they got it, you know. And there are plenty of people who watch my video and don't get it, and that's fine. They might watch somebody else and then they get it from that person. So it's kind of just finding the right, you know, method or whatever you want to call it, the right personality, the right time. All kinds of factors go into like when you get something and it clicks for you. So that's clicking for me. And then of course that's just dovetailing into the octave displacement stuff. So like I might do or whatever. So I'm able to just kind of connect all that stuff, and I'm not playing licks really. I'm playing like little cells, I guess. I'm thinking this is all G7, and I'm just kind of using my ear, and that wasn't that interesting because it's all eighth notes, but like throwing in triplets and changing up the rhythm and stuff, and of course being able to resolve it in a nice way. These are things I need to work on, but from like a purely mechanical standpoint, I can play sort of dominant stuff, you know, bebop-y sounding dominant stuff. So that's cool, and it's yeah. So that course has been really, really valuable to me. So I guess that's it. Yeah, I guess that's it. The picking thing, and then the bebop scales, and how to approach them. I need to work on that same idea across the rest of the neck, so I can do it wherever and in different keys. And then the guitar. So I will play, let's see. I'll put this at 90. Let's see, how loud is that going to be? Okay, I'll put this at 90 and I will attempt to play. I won't play the melody of the tune. It's like it's a blues, but I'll try to play the 3 solo sections, the 3 choruses of solo, up to 90 at least, and you'll see what I mean as far as like certain parts will feel really slow because 90 is not super fast, but then I have to play these fast double time licks in the middle, and so keeping the tempo down is really helpful. So let's give this a shot. 2, 3. Whatever. So you can probably tell which parts I'm struggling with. Like that first chorus is like fine, and I can get that a little bit quicker. It's relatively clean. But this part right here, is tough. It's just like I can't seem to get that past a certain level. So trying to, you know, kind of work it out as far as like, you know, how could I approach the picking directions and stuff so that this is as economical as possible. And then a really big thing is just like trying to relax. You know, anytime I try to play fast, just you lock up, you know. So, but then that prevents you from playing fast. So just trying to keep a loose grip and keep it angled just a little bit. And another thing that a lot of the gypsy guys talk about is kind of keeping your, not an extreme angle, but basically just not resting your palm on the guitar, which is how I learned. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that, but like I do kind of like lifting it a little bit because then it just sort of helps me with my tension. I feel like I can be a little bit more loose that way. But anyway, that is very much a work in progress. And again, I'm excited because learning this etude is like, this is what I want to be able to play like. You've got these really nice sort of stock sounding blues licks, you know. I screwed up a part that I don't normally screw up where it's like that kind of stuff is like, and then this, oh come on. All right, that's not hard to play, but it's like super great. You know, it's just like really nice to listen to blues stuff, and then he throws in these really great bebop runs, and that's kind of like, that's how I want to play. I want to have those tools in my toolkit, in other words. So that's it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I would recommend Pickup Music. I think they've got lots. I mean, they do have a lot of stuff. What I think is cool about it is it's guitar centric. So it's all like a lot of music subscription services that I've come across are like, we have guitar stuff, but we have piano and saxophone and whatever else, and that's cool too, but this is just guitar. So it's a bunch of different guitarists, probably a lot that you've come across on YouTube and social media and stuff. So they're young, mostly young, and they're showing off, you know, the stuff that you probably are interested in learning. In my case, definitely. So check that out. That's it. Thanks for watching, and I will catch up with you guys later. Bye-bye.